Let's get it.
It seems like there was a little extra chirping going on with the bench tonight. Did that impact
it was
things?
their assistant coach. He started chirping in the first quarter. So they didn't like when I chirp back. Now they said play basketball. If they're going to chirp at me, I'm going to chirp back. I ain't scared.
And now Durant will shoot free throws, and Devin Booker and Doncic go face to face.
Well, you know what?
It's Wainwright has to step in. The officials haven't called anything yet.
Well, I'll tell you what, Booker started that. Booker was yapping.
You know, you guys say you don't want everybody to be friendly. There you go. We got some smoke.
Talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets.
Family, what's good? Welcome back to another edition of Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets. You already know how we do, family. Brought to you as always. It's your host, Justin, aka Just Blaze. Family, you know the drill. To get in contact with me, you can always hit me up and follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze_513, on IG at JustBlaze513, on Facebook and YouTube. Search Above the Rim Podcast. Also email the show as well. Above the Rim NBA Podcast at gmail.com. Tap in and leave the family a voicemail. The line is always open. 908-718-1592. Best way to support the show, as you know, copy merch, family. I appreciate it as always. Make sure you hit the website, copy your hoodies, your tees, your mugs, all of that good stuff. Link is in my bio. Very easy to find. Show some love. I appreciate it, of course. Make sure you leave your boy a review on iTunes and Spotify if you rock with the show. If you're watching on YouTube as well, now stop what you're doing. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Go subscribe, comment, show love, all of that good stuff. Also, leave some comments also as well because I want to hear from you as well. Solo episode, family. There's just too much NBA for me to touch on. So I had to come in here dolo. Get some news around the NBA. So let's get into it, man. We got a bunch of things on the docket today. Bunch of good topics to discuss, to talk about. Let's get into it, man. First up, Ja Morant we got to discuss, right? Ja Morant suspended. Grizzlies in turmoil. Some unfortunate news that we have to discuss first in this episode. Ja Morant suspended for at least 2 games by the Memphis Grizzlies. Over the weekend, he was seen flashing a piece in the club on IG Live. Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins says that there isn't a definitive timeline for Ja Morant. We're not sure exactly when he's going to be back. Right now, they're calling it a 2-game suspension, but who knows if it could be a little bit more than that. Who knows? But I'm going to be honest. This was ridiculous. This was unfortunate. I'm going to be honest. At first, when I saw it, I saw the video on Twitter. I thought it was a damn lie though at first. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know some of those pieces, some of those lighters that look like pieces. You know what I mean? But it wasn't, clearly. And listen, I'm not gonna come over here and try to act like Ja Morant's mentor because all of these dudes in the media are acting as if it's their responsibility to give fatherly advice to Ja Morant. And look, it was just dumb. It was unprofessional. It was a mistake. It was irresponsible. And most importantly, unnecessary. There's no other way to slice him, man. He must have been wild drunk, I guess, in a club or something like that because I see no reason to do this nonsense. And now it's caused unnecessary distractions for the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Ja, you got to watch the company that you keep, my brother. As Ja gets older, though, he's 23 right now, he's going to realize that it's always been quality over quantity when it comes to friends. Always in life. So that's something you will learn throughout your life. And everybody who's been through a couple of years in their life realizes that by now. So just got to watch the company you keep. We all know it was a mistake. He's learning from this mistake. We hope now. He said he's been dealing with some stress or whatever it is has to be dealing with. So we hope Ja gets back and he's good and he's fine. He's cool with the team. They don't worry about it and we'll see how it goes from there. But the Grizzlies also have some turmoil that they have to deal with in addition to the Ja Morant suspension. Brandon Clark is now lost for the year with the torn Achilles. They didn't have him. Dylan Brooks is suspended for a game for the maximum amount of technical fouls he could have. So they didn't have Brandon Clark, Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, and Steven Adams for their last game against the Clippers. And they almost won that game. They almost pulled it out, but we know that now going forward, at least for the next couple of games or so, Memphis Grizzlies are going to have a tough time dealing with the playoff race and dealing with keeping their spot. So we know they're at the number 2 spot right now, and how this Ja Morant suspension and everything else going on with the Grizzlies will affect the playoff race. It will affect it greatly, in my opinion. Now, I still believe the Grizzlies can hold on, but they got to tighten up a lot of things, right? Getting Steven Adams back obviously is going to help tremendously. They really need him. Having him and Triple J on the floor crashing the boards is the Memphis Grizzlies' advantage, but they got to work on their fourth quarter scoring, right? The Grizzlies are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the NBA, especially recently. Overall, they're 29th in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring, and that's not going to get the job done. So even before this Ja Morant suspension, the Grizzlies have a lot of things that they have to tighten up as a unit in order to hold on to that number 2 seed. So they're still the number 2 seed for right now, but that status is in major flux. Depending on what happens with Ja, how long the suspension is. They're only 1 game ahead of the Kings, 3 games ahead of the Suns for that number 2 spot. And there's no time right now to get distracted. It's time for the stretch run in the NBA season, and we're gearing up for the playoffs. It's the last 15 to 20 odd so games left. They don't have a lot of time left, so the Grizzlies need to get it together now. Moving on. Let's talk about the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are officially the hottest team in the NBA. Currently on a 9, maybe even 10-game win streak right now. They won 12 out of their last 14, a stretch that includes 2 wins over the Celtics, Nets, Heat, and the 76ers. Top 3 offensive rating in the NBA, top 3 rebounding team in the NBA. The Knicks are still the only undefeated team in the NBA since the All-Star break. The Knicks are no longer a cute story. They're a legit team, especially in the Eastern Conference, right? I love what I'm seeing for this New York Knicks team, right? The team is showing a lot of heart and they're showing a lot of grit, especially during this stretch, but really and truly throughout the entire season, right? It's playoff basketball that's been going on. It's a playoff basketball atmosphere going on in New York City right now for both teams, and I'm loving it. The streets is loving it, I'll tell you right now. Listen, the Knicks season, New York Knicks season right now, it started to trend upward a little bit. Pretty much when Tibbs made the change to bring in Quentin Grimes. Once he came back from injury, he decided to put Quentin Grimes in the starting lineup, tightened up his rotation to about 9 guys who could dribble, pass, shoot, and play his style of defense, right? And that has really been the catalyst for the Knicks in their growth this season and why they're trending upwards. Jalen Brunson, as we know, has been surgical this season. Eastern Conference Player of the Month in February, averaging 23 and 6 on the season. Jalen Brunson to me has been the best free agency signing in the NBA this year. He was the best free agent signing in the NBA over the summer. He was definitely snubbed on that All-Star team, as I talked about before, but all that matters is the playoffs right now for the New York Knicks. Getting to the playoffs and trying to secure a home court advantage maybe in round 1. It's going to be tough to get to the number 4 spot, but they can get there. They can even get to the number 3 spot if they even play their cards right and play a little better, right? So moving forward with the Knicks, got to talk about Julius Randle as well. I might have to fill out my Julius Randle apology form, right? Because he's showing the streets that he's been a much improved player this season. Right? Hitting big shot after big shot after big shot for the Knicks, especially in that Miami game, especially in the Boston Celtics game. Listen, that game winner against the Miami Heat was ridiculous. It was out of control. It was insane, that game winner, because I thought that game was over after Tyler Hero got that left-handed layup on the other side. Julius Randle came back down the other end. It was a broken play. I forgot who had the ball first, but it was a broken play. Julius Randle ended up with the rock. I think he lost the ball. He picked it back up. He ended up going to the right corner, drilling that 3. That was an insane shot, and I got to give Julius Randle a lot of love for that because that was big time. Josh Hart, one of the most underrated moves of the NBA trade deadline. Josh Hart as a Knick thus far, averaging 11 and 5, 61% from the floor, damn near 60% from the three-point line. The Knicks haven't even lost a game with Josh Hart in the lineup, family. All right? He's going to be very important going into the playoffs because he's the type of player that makes winning plays. makes winning plays, hustle plays, in crucial moments, in moments where the Knicks are going to need it. So he's going to be a very integral part of the New York Knicks lineup, especially in the playoffs, right? So the Knicks, they actually play a solid brand of playoff basketball they've been playing all year. Heavy isolation, bully on offense, playing tough physical defense on the other end as well. And it's been working out for the New York Knicks. I can't complain at all. I really like how they've been playing, and they are really locked in as a unit, especially during this win streak. I thought RJ Barrett was ready for the keys all year for the franchise, but maybe he isn't yet. But maybe that's okay. I thought it wouldn't have been okay, but maybe it is bringing in Jalen Brunson. That's why you bring in a guy like Jalen Brunson to be the leader who says he wants that role. And then a guy like Julius Randle morphing into a better leader. He was a great leader 2 years ago. Last year, he struggled a little bit getting involved with the assistant coaches, poor body language the entire season, and didn't really play well. But this year, he's really stepped up. And you got to give Julius Randle a lot of love. You got to give him a lot of credit. Now, when we talk about the Knicks as a whole going into the playoffs, now, are the Knicks going to be an easy team to defend in the playoffs? Now, that all depends on Julius Randle to me. Is his jumper going to hold up in the playoffs? Did he add more variety, a counter to his offensive game for when it's taken away in the playoffs? We saw that happen against the Atlanta Hawks. We hope he has a counter this time. We'll see. Because some of these shots that he's hitting lately, they're crazy and they're wild, but they're also unsustainable. Some of these wild shots that he's hitting, especially the type of shot that he hit against the Miami Heat, right? So there are a couple of things that Julius Randle has to prove, and what he also has to work on also as well going into the playoffs. And we'll see if he's improved when we get to the playoffs, because like I said, some of these shots that he's hitting right now may not go down as easily in the playoffs. And he's been making a couple of mistakes here and there, especially in that Boston Celtics game. Too often I see Julius Randle gets pinned on the baseline, dribbling with his head down where he can't see the help defender. And then sometimes he gets stripped before he can turn around and pass it off to the open man. So we saw that happen at the end of the game. I think it was Jaylen Brown who got the strip. And those are the type of plays that happen quite often with Julius Randle the Knicks. So he just got to tighten that up a little bit and just get your reads out quicker. Get into your reads earlier. Get into your sets earlier. Stop over-dribbling. Stop holding the ball, because you wouldn't have that many seconds in the shot clock in the playoffs to really get into your offensive action. So he's got to get better at that. And shout out to the Knicks, man. Shout out to the Knicks for having an excellent season right now. And we're going to see how much they can sustain this. And I'm rooting for them. Let's go. Moving on. Got to talk about Kevin Durant. Debut with the Suns. Easy money. KD with the Suns. Easy money. All right. So let's get to what I've seen so far from the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant's transition onto the Phoenix Suns has been very easy, as we all expected, as anybody who knows basketball expected. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, unstoppable duo if they are both hitting their shots. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combined for a total of 188 points in 3 games together since the trade. That's the 4th most by a pair of teammates in their first 3 games together in NBA history. So they've been phenomenal in their first 3 games together. Now, granted, it wasn't the greatest competition in 2 out of the 3 games. It was the Hornets. Then it was the Bulls, who are a solid contributor, solid mid-tier team. And then also the Mavs we saw in that Sunday showcase, where it was an excellent game, right? So I'm going to get to that, address that game in a little bit. But Kevin Durant is the Sun, 26-7, 69% from the floor, 53% from 3, 88% from the line. Devin Booker, since KD has joined the team, averaging 36, 5-7, 58% from the floor, 50% from 3. There are just certain basketball fits that you just know are going to work before you even see them on the floor. And this type of pairing was no different, right? KD, as a small ball 5, he looked great in that for a couple of minutes against the Mavs. He's one of those superstars that we all know can plug and play anywhere, and the offense can move seamlessly. It can be an easy transition, and he's fitting in very well with this Phoenix Suns team, right? Now, we know they still have some kinks to work out in the offense, especially in the rotation as well. Monty Williams has to work on a lot of his rotational adjustments. who he's going to keep as that number 5 guy, because it's probably going to fluctuate. Sometimes it's going to be Okogie. And maybe Wainwright, Ish Wainwright, who closed out the game for the Phoenix Suns against the Mavs, who hit a quality shot. What was it, about 2 or 3 corner threes that he hit was in the fourth quarter, which they really needed in order to secure that win. So we're going to see if he can step up. Torrey Craig sometimes is going to be there. T. Ross is going to be there sometimes. And the Phoenix Suns, they still have some things to work out with KD there, but it's been looking beautiful so far, right? So I saw a question on ESPN the other day. Does KD need to be the leader of the Suns? I think it was a dumbass question, if I'm being honest. I think it was a very dumb question. No disrespect to KD at all, but he's never been that loud, boisterous type of vocal leader in the locker room. So he doesn't have to do that in Phoenix. So it isn't a question and it isn't an issue. Who's the leader in Phoenix? Who needs to be the leader? Who needs to be that guy? That's not how this team and this organization is run. Monty Williams and Chris Paul are the strategic leaders in the locker room and on-court strategy. So there is no issues about the leadership aspect. Everybody works together and they really work as a unit. The Phoenix Suns are a very rhythmic kind of team, right? So we brought up CP before as being a leader. Speaking of CP, I want to talk about him a little bit because before we saw KD come on the floor, I talked about which one of the Suns, with my man Gerald Borgate, which one of the Suns is going to have to make the biggest adjustment with KD moving on board. And after seeing 3 games now thus far, it's Chris Paul. Chris Paul has to make the biggest adjustment with Kevin Durant coming on board. Listen, I said it before. He's got to shoot more threes. I saw the practice video the other day when Kevin Durant and Chris Paul were on the practice floor working on double-team kickouts. That's what's going to happen all game. That's what's going to happen every game. Opponents are going to want to turn Chris Paul into a scorer rather than a playmaker. Now, Chris Paul is shooting around 50% on catch-and-shoot threes this season. If the game plan is to let you shoot, CP, shoot that shit. Shoot it. I'm telling you right now, look at this play right here that I'm about to discuss. It's a perfect example of a well-defended play that will ultimately end up in Chris Paul's hands for 3 after a few swings. He's got to let it fly. Gotta let it fly, my brother. The Dallas Mavericks in that game, that Sunday showcase, they try to employ a defensive strategy that Phoenix should expect to see when the postseason comes around and when rival teams are going to be searching for their weaknesses. Now, we know the Mavs, they can't defend KD or they can't defend Book in the mid-range or on the ISO, so they have to choose who they want to leave open, which man they're going to choose to double up on either one of those guys, and they're going to have to either leave Chris Paul or whoever the 5th guy is open for a 3, most likely. It could be T. Ross. It could be Okogie. He had a bad night on Sunday. He missed it. I think he went 0 for 8 for threes. Ish Wainwright, as I talked about before, hit a couple of threes. T. Ross, he could knock out some threes, but the defense is suspect. I'm going to be honest there. So the Suns are really going to have to work on those kickouts and really work on their corner threes, open threes, above the break threes, because a lot of people don't realize this, but the guy they lost that they traded for KD, Mikal Bridges, he leads the league in corner threes. That's what the Suns are going to need most when a guy like Kevin Durant gets double. So now we know why the Brooklyn Nets was adamant on including Mikal Bridges on any trade, on any KD trade, because he's such a valuable and vital piece. And I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. And one thing I wanted to point out about this Phoenix Suns offense, observing them and watching them. KD and Book needs to share that rock, right? I understand they're going to get a majority of the touches, but the Phoenix Suns are a rhythm team. Their offense thrives on rhythm, play calling, offensive execution. Don't turn this team into an ISO-heavy type of team that we saw a few times in that Dallas game. That will hurt you more than it would help you in the long run. In the Mavs game, Book had a 36% usage rate, KD had a 26% usage rate, and Chris Paul had a 13% usage rate in that game. You fellas got to share the sugar. I'm going to be honest. You fellas got to share the sugar and let CP play make from time to time. Get some of those pick and roll action so he can get more into the flow of the game so Ayton could get more touches. If you look at every Phoenix Suns game thus far, they make it a point to give DeAndre Ayton the ball first. They always start off the game with maybe a little DeAndre Ayton pick and roll, maybe a pin down for someone else. But ultimately, DeAndre Ayton will get the first shot a lot of the times or they would try to get him the first shot a lot of times because you got to get the big man some touches. You got to have him feeling well. So like I said before, the Phoenix Suns, rhythm team. Everybody needs to touch. Everybody needs to share. So I saw more ISOs than slightly more ISOs than we probably should see in the Phoenix Suns offense in that Dallas Mavericks game. But I'm sure they're going to go and film and they're going to see that as well and realize that's why a few times the offense got stagnant a few times. So that's something they're probably going to have to work on a little bit. And with that being said, the other night, Ayton, he only took 6 shots. This is your max center. He's got to be more aggressive. We know he's got to shoot more shots. And they also have to get him the ball a little bit more so he can take advantage of some of those opportunities because he is now getting a lot more single coverage than he's ever gotten before. So I said T. Ross before, his defense looks suspect. So I'm not sure if they want to keep him or how many minutes Monty wants to play him in that 5th spot. Okogie, he's been playing well. He's definitely the 5th starter, as I said before. Him and Ish has to hit those open jumpers. So we're going to see more rotational adjustments going forward with the Phoenix Suns. Also in that game, I noticed KD and Kyrie didn't say a word to each other. I thought that was pretty peculiar, pretty strange. I didn't really see them exchange a lot of words. That was pretty surprising. So Phoenix Suns, listen, they only have themselves to worry about right now. I told y'all the offense will be beautiful. Mid-range after mid-range after mid-range. I told y'all, gain that chemistry, Phoenix Suns. Trust and let the chips fall where they may. Also, before we move on from the Phoenix Suns, I also want to shout out Kevin Durant for passing Oscar Robertson for 13th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Next up on the list is Hakeem Olajuwon at 12, which he will do by season's end. Then he's got Elvin Hayes at 11, Moses Malone at 10, sitting there at less than 1,000 points away. He's going to get that. We know that. KD started off this season 21st on the scoring list. He's already passed Alex English, Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, Havlicek, Paul Pierce, Tim Duncan, Dominique Wilkins, the Big O. All Hall of Famers as we know. And to make it sweet, how he got that 13th spot was off a smooth mid-range jump. How sweet it was, right? LeBron James is now the only active member with more points than Kevin Durant. 4-time scoring champ. 4th highest career scoring average in NBA history, Kevin Durant. So shout out to one of the greatest scorers of all time. Easy money. Keep climbing those record boards, my brother. Let's talk about the Mavs really quick. Jason Kidd had some comments after the game, had some comments in the previous game. He talked about how the Mavericks need to grow up in order to win a championship the other day. Is this the right message for the team? Maybe, maybe not. The Mavs just have to play better right now. They're still working out the kinks as a team. They're 2-6 in their last 8 games. 5 of the last 6 losses were decided by the last 10 seconds or overtime. And in that time frame, the Mavs have the 3rd best offense and the 30th ranked defense. So clearly we know defense is the issue with that team. And it was last year also. And the year before that also as well. So defense continues to be an issue. They routinely give up over 100 points to their opponent. The lineups that Jason Kidd has been throwing out there, though, has been suspect in my opinion. I don't even like Dwight Powell at center. Power forward, they're either throwing out Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, Holiday. Come on now. These are not good options at your power forward spot. And they was really throwing that out against the Phoenix Suns. Jason Kidd, he's got to do better with those lineup adjustments. Listen, I know Kleber just came back, but you got to throw him in. You need another defender at that 4th spot who can also hit a 3, but who can also beef up and defend a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody like that. So they're going to have to tighten up those rotations because Christian Wood not getting enough minutes. JaVale McGee not even playing anymore. So they need some type of defensive presence or some type of defensive versatility in that Mavs lineup in order for them to take the next step, because defense is going to be it's their issue now. It's going to be their issue going forward. So they need to tighten up. Kyrie Irving has been excellent in the Mavericks uniform. I don't think anybody is surprised by that. Been scoring the ball tremendous, fitting in well, but defense is the issue for him as well. So like I said, the Dallas Mavericks, they need to tighten that up. We're going to see if they can tighten that up and where they're going to end up in the playoffs race, because the West is volatile right now, especially when it comes to the standings. The West is very volatile. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets a little bit, family. The Nets are hooping. I told you this a week ago. The Nets are hooping right now. I told you don't sleep on the Nets, family, all right? Listen to me. Mikal Bridges has been flourishing as the number one option for the Brooklyn Nets. Since the trade, Mikal Bridges is averaging 26-5 on 54, 50, and 91% shooting splits. Do you know how crazy that is? Those are excellent splits for Mikal Bridges. He's been hooping since he's been over here. Brooklyn Bridges, we know the deal right now, all right? He's tallied over 30-plus points in consecutive games for the first time in his career. Before joining the Nets, he had 2 30-plus point games in his career. Since joining the Nets, 4 30-plus point games in 9 games, he's been balling. Future All-Star Mikal Bridges. Listen to me. Trust me on that. Love the Nerlens Noel pickup. That's going to pay dividends for the Brooklyn Nets going forward. A nice backup center who can back up Claxton because we don't know what we're going to get out of Ben Simmons. I know Jock Vaughn was trying to use Ben Simmons as a backup 5 spot, but that was a fail. Didn't work out for Ben Simmons. I don't know what's going on with Ben Simmons. Speaking to him real quick, I don't even want to touch on him because now all of a sudden he's got extra back issues along with his knee soreness. So who knows when Ben Simmons is even going to be in the lineup. Jock Vaughn looked like he doesn't even care if Ben Simmons comes back. And I don't care either. You know what I'm saying? Listen, he collecting them checks. We know he's trying to be fly on the sideline, but is he contributing to winning right now? I don't know. So I'm not even worried about Ben Simmons right now for the Brooklyn Nets, right? But going forward, the Brooklyn Nets are at their best when they're increasing the pace and when they lay off some of those half-court sets, right? When they're pushing the ball at every opportunity, running off opponents' misses and even makes, Brooklyn Nets are at their best at that point, right? So it makes their offense increase in efficiency. It puts the pressure on them. It puts the pressure on the opponents because we know the Brooklyn Nets, they can lock up. We know they have the ability to run. We know they have athletes on this team who can get out and run. And we know that is their game plan that they're trying to do moving forward is to try to run and try to increase the pace. So Jock Vaughn has been implementing that strategy. They've been having some trouble on the defensive end at times because they're still learning rotation. They're still learning switches. They're still learning assignments of where to be, where not to be. And they're still learning their teammates, as are a lot of teams in the NBA right now. But as long as they're pushing the pace, as long as they're keeping themselves running, they're going to do well as a team. And if the Nets have any chance of being competitive, basically, in their post-superstar era, they're going to have to run. They're going to have to run, and they started to do that. So since the All-Star break, the Nets are first in the league in pace per game. So we see that they're trying to run a little bit more, and we're going to see how this works out. Listen, Mikal Bridges, he's been taking the role. He's becoming more of a leader. They've been establishing a culture here in Brooklyn, and I love to see it, right? Everybody look like they're on board. They're listening to the message from Jock Vaughn. They're all on one accord. They know the playoffs is coming up soon. It's going to be the first playoffs of this team, of this core together. So I think they're going to do well, man. Listen, I'm very excited to see how this team performs because how they perform now and going into the stretch run of the season will dictate the roster additions or subtractions this summer for the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm rooting for them. Let's go, fellas. Let's see. Keep pushing that pace, and we're going to see how you start rocking going down the stretch when it comes to playoff time. The Los Angeles Lakers, we got to talk about, family. I don't know what to think of this team. They're always in the news, not for winning. But we're going to talk about them anyway, right? LeBron James is out. Now he's out. Now he's on a 3-week evaluation period for his leg or his ankle. I think it was his ankle that he's on a 3-week evaluation for. It's sink or swim for the Lakers right now. With LeBron out, can AD become that MVP candidate again? Listen, he's going to have to because the blame is going to go on his shoulders regardless of what happens this season. It's not going to go on LeBron at all. Let's be clear, right? So we've seen in the past before, AD has shown inklings in the past where he can still win some games without LeBron James. For the season now, the Lakers are 5-7 when AD plays without LeBron James. He's averaging 29 and 14 in those games, so putting up excellent numbers. Each and every one of those victories that the Lakers have had without LeBron James boil down to Anthony Davis's individual performances. So because of that, We know he's the catalyst to the Lakers. Obviously, we know he has to be that guy in order for the Lakers to even attempt to win a game. It's not like even now they can blow anybody. Even attempt to win a game, Anthony Davis has to be at his absolute best and absolute peak. And that is 29-14 and 3 blocks, Anthony Davis. So we see where the Lakers are sitting right now. 11th in the West still. Have about 17 games or so remaining. 10 of them are home games. Third easiest remaining schedule in the NBA by opponent winning percentage. Listen, if Anthony Davis can keep playing like this, can the Lakers keep their heads above water long enough for LeBron to recover? I don't know. But wait, will LeBron actually recover? Who knows? Listen, LeBron is on checkout watch right now, low-key. I don't like how he's riding around in the stadium with his ankle mobile or ankle, whatever that is, ankle scooter he's got, like shit is sweet. Because it's not. It's time to get into the playoffs, bro. Listen, how Anthony Davis performs, and if the Lakers make the playoffs during this stretch without LeBron, will dictate if Anthony Davis will stay in LA past this season. I wouldn't be surprised to hear AD trade rumors if the Lakers miss the playoffs again. Don't be surprised. You already know that it's on the docket for them to even look around. So if they don't make the playoffs, I think you're going to see some heads rolling in LA this summer. I want to give a shout out to my man Damian Lillard. Last episode, I didn't get to talk about his 71-point outburst. I want to take a couple of minutes here to shout out a guy who's been a standout performer all year. Damian Lillard has been a man on fire in the NBA this season scoring the basketball. Dame Lillard is quietly becoming one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. Argue if you like, but the numbers don't lie. I'm going to just run off a couple of things for Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard since the trade deadline, averaging 41 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 52% from the floor, 44% from 3. After topping 40 points 3 times through his first 40 games of the season, Dame has done it 10 times in his last 21 games. Second player in NBA history, joining Kobe Bryant, to put up 2 60-point games in 2 separate seasons. Dame has done it twice just this season and 5 times total. His 71-point outburst was the 15th time he has scored at least 50 points in a game. One more than LeBron's 14. Damian Lillard right now, he's the only player in NBA history to score 70 points and make at least 10 3-pointers in a single game. He was already the only player in NBA history to score 60 points and make at least 10 threes in a game. And now he's done it again. Only 8 players in NBA history have scored 70 points in a game. Will Chamberlain did it 6 times. Kobe, David Thompson, David Robinson, Elgin Baylor, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell have also scored at least 70 points. Damian Lillard, now 32 years old, is the oldest player to ever score 70-plus points in a game. David Robinson was the last person before he was 28 at the time. The only active player with more 50-point games than Damian Lillard is James Harden, who has 23. Damian Lillard has 15 right now. But the most points Harden has ever scored in a single game was 61. And Damian Lillard clearly went over 70, right? So Damian Lillard has hit that mark twice and bested it once. Only 3 players in NBA history has ever had separate games with at least 50, 60, and 70 points in a single season. Those players are Will Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, and now Damian Lillard. All of this to say, we're getting to a point where we kind of have to start talking about Damian Lillard as one of the greatest scorers of all time. We're going to have to put him in that upper echelon couple categories of the top 28 scorers of all time. When we talk about the best scorers to ever play this game, make sure Damian Lillard is on everyone's list. Let it be known, right? Shout out to Damian Lillard. Your season is not going unnoticed by the real ones, my brother. So shout out to you. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Rounding out the show a little bit, I want to talk about my top 5 must-see playoff matchups that I want to see going into the postseason. Now, I know we still have a couple more weeks left to go into the postseason, but we're starting to get the playoff atmosphere in the NBA. And before injuries come into play, I just want to talk about some matchups that I really want to see, right? So I know playoffs around the corner, like I said, not around the corner, but we have 3 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks or so to go. And there's some matchups that I know y'all want to see, and that I particularly want to see. So I just wanted to run off the 5 quick my top 5 must-see matchups for the playoffs that I would love to see match up in the playoffs. It's the Suns and Mavs, number 1. We've seen what happened in that Sunday game is going to be dynamite. The Grizzlies versus Warriors. We know how much smoke is there. The 76ers versus Bucks. I want to see that matchup. The Knicks is Celtics, but now with the revival, we can get a semi-rivalry renewed. And low-key, I want to see the Clippers versus Kings in a series. I would love for those 2 teams to match up. Now, we see they had one of the best regular season games ever with that double or triple overtime that they had when they either scored over 170 points. And then they played again and had another dynamite game. So that's one of the playoff matchups that I definitely want to see, the Clippers and Kings. So family, let me know, what are your top 5 must-see playoff matchups, or the top 5 matchups, or top 3, whatever the case may be. What matchups do y'all want to see on the playoffs, or what matchups are you expecting to see, and what matchups do you want to see going into the playoffs? Because playoffs is going to be some smoke this year. We already know. Rounding out the episode, LaMelo Ball got some tough news. He's done for the season now. It's Webby watch for the Hornets. It's been Victor Wembanyama watch for the Hornets. That's the team that I would like to see him go to most, is the Charlotte Hornets. So we'll see if they can lose a couple more games now to put themselves in a better position. They're fighting out the Houston Rockets, and they're fighting out the San Antonio Spurs and the Detroit Pistons for the worst record in the NBA. So they're all on Webby watch. But I would love to see, and like I said on my other episode, the streets want to see LaMelo Ball and Victor Wembanyama. So we'll see if that happens. Steph Curry came back last game. He's back for the Warriors now. It's time for them to make a run. They've been climbing up in the rankings slowly, calmly. They've been trending, I can't even say upward, because they've been a little up and down. Because now that Steph has been back, they're trying to trend upward, but they've been an up and down team all season. But I have confidence. I have faith in the Warriors. They are a championship team, championship caliber team. So they know important games and how to perform important games. So I think they're going to get back up to speed. And don't be surprised if they end up being a 6th seed, a 5th seed, because I believe they're 5th or 6th right now, but they're tied for, I don't know if they're tied or they're a little bit above the Mavs, but they're neck and neck. So, like I said, the West, we know, can easily flip-flop, and I'm looking for the Warriors to actually make a nice run in the next 10, 15 games or so and really solidify their place in the postseason, because all the people who are thinking the Warriors won't make the playoffs, they lost their mind. They're absolutely making the playoffs, and I don't even think they're going to be in the play-in, so we'll see how they do moving forward, and we're happy to see Steph back and Steph healthy, and they're making that run, man. Also, I don't know if y'all saw that, the generational stat pattern by Giannis Antetokounmpo to get that triple-double. That was hilarious at the end of the game, by the way. I just brought it up because we talked about on Twitter, there was big news about Perk saying that Nikola Jokic was stat padding a lot to get this MVP. And then we actually saw some legit stat padding from Giannis. So I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, man, we know Giannis is a character. He's been balling, by the way. Bucks, I have nothing but good things to say about that Buck. That Jay Crowder pickup, I'm sad, but damn. Well, he fits perfectly in that team. So the Bucks are going to be a force to be reckoned with. We're going to see if Chris Middleton can get back into form, but the Bucks are going to be formidable, as we all know. Family, appreciate you for joining me once again for another episode. Thank you for keeping it locked in. Thank you for listening to me every episode. I appreciate all the love and support, as always. To my fam that be writing me, I appreciate you guys. I always keep writing to me in those comments, liking the videos, leaving reviews. I appreciate it. Of course, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on IG. No more DMs. Hit me in the comments or at me so that I can respond. Because a lot of y'all are in my DM all the time with all of the basketball takes, and it's just never ending. So bring that shit to the timeline, fellas. It's going to be very easy, and I appreciate y'all for writing me, of course. And I'm always happy to talk basketball with any and everybody. So make sure you hit me up on Twitter, IG, and Facebook, all your NBA takes as well. Send a voicemail as well, 908-718-1592. Family, make sure you're doing that. Subscribe to tell a friend to tell a friend. This is episode 198, family. And we out.